What is the biggest fear for a lot of people when buying and selling real estate? Getting scammed. Today we're going to talk about it. Yo, I'm Adrienne, longtime Florida realtor, and I'm here to help you get your Florida life. Happy Wednesday, everyone. If you're new here, new videos come out every Wednesday. Subscribe to follow along. Today we're going to talk about something nobody likes to think about, but most people worry about, and that is scams in the real estate industry. I'm going to tell you what I've seen, what I hear about but don't really see, maybe quell some fears out there, and tell you really my best advice for staying away from getting scammed. Let's start with the three types of scams most people are worried about. If you're a buyer, you're worried that the seller is going to scam you. If you're a seller, you're worried that the buyer is going to scam you, and everybody's afraid that the real estate agent is going to scam you. Let's start with what buyers are afraid of from sellers. Buyers are often afraid that sellers are going to misrepresent the house in some way, that there's something broken that they're selling because there is a fatal flaw. The roof has a hole in it and no one's telling you. To be honest, I don't run into that very often. I do run into we forgot this plug socket in the guest bedroom doesn't work, and we never put on the seller's disclosure. Especially people who've lived in the house a very long time, it does happen that things are left off disclosures. Are they supposed to be? Absolutely not. I'm not encouraging that, to be clear, but that has happened. Usually it comes up in inspection though, and there's ways to handle it. Most sellers, I feel like, don't want those hassles. Most sellers are pretty honest because they know that buyers get inspections and they don't want to deal with, oh, now it came up and I look like I was fraudulent. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it is rare. They also worry that the seller is going to say they're going to leave something like furniture, but then they don't. We would typically put furniture on the contract if it's furniture that you're getting. I really don't run into sellers taking more than they're supposed to. More than anything, I get sellers who leave more than they're supposed to because we have such big moves here to move up north. And you get the truck there and you realize, oh, this table doesn't fit. It has happened to me that I walked into a house that was supposed to be vacant and there's a bed in the house or something like that. We usually can work that out. I don't think of that as a scam though. I think of that as maybe poor organization or just overwhelm of big moves. Generally speaking, I don't see sellers going out of their way to scam buyers. I have heard of, this has not happened to me, I have heard of twice a seller selling the house and before they get to closing, they realize there's an open insurance claim that they never closed or maybe never used the money like they were supposed to, which is not how things are supposed to be. I usually beat into my buyer's head to get their insurance, bind it up, get it done in the inspection period early on, so they know early instead of getting very close to closing and then we have a big fiasco. That hasn't happened to me. Not all my buyers listen to me on doing that, so it could happen to me. But if you're a seller, close those insurance claims out. Now let's talk about what sellers are afraid of from buyers. The main thing sellers are afraid of from buyers is buyers won't show up with the money. It's tough ahead of time to prove a buyer is going to show up with the money. A lot of people ask for proof of funds these days. If you're a buyer and especially if you're a cash buyer or you're going to put a lot of money down, you should expect that they may ask you for proof of funds. Almost everyone asks for a pre-approval with a loan. If you're thinking of buying in the new year, get that done now because it's going to be asked of you and it's so much easier if you get it done now. I think that the most secure way to hopefully get them to show up with the money is to get us a good escrow, get good money and earnest money up front. Usually we see about 1.5 to 2% of the purchase price. So if you're watching this and you're wondering, how much do I have to put in earnest money? That's a good range. And 2% is on the lower end properties. And then sometimes you see a little bit less than 2% when you get up higher end. It really depends. You can also split that payment up. There's a lot of options for that. But in my mind, I'd rather have good earnest money over proof of funds, because I feel like if you have $10,000 there in earnest money and I don't have a piece of paper, you don't care about the pure piece of paper. You don't want to lose your earnest money. And I will tell you, this has never happened to me. I've never gotten to closing and somebody just said, we don't have the money, or we're not going to show up. Something that did happen to me, the only thing that on this whole episode that I can say happened to me is 10 years ago-ish. I had this couple, they came along, they put a cash offer on, it was like a $500,000 house. I would guess it was $10,000 in escrow they were supposed to show up with, and usually have 1 or 2 days to bring that to the title company. I don't remember how many days they had, but they never brought it. They wrote a bad check. They kept making excuses as to where it went, where the money went, where they went, why they couldn't give it. It was bizarre. And they gained nothing from it. So I've often heard, isn't there a scam where people put something under contract and then never close on it? That's only happened to me one time in hundreds and hundreds of deals. And frankly, I didn't feel like it was a scam. To be very honest, I felt like they were maybe a little bit crazy or something, because they gained nothing. There was no gain. Usually you think of a scam, and we're going to get to some of those, where somebody gains something. They just were a hassle and very frustrating for about a week of my life. Finally, of course, everybody is afraid of getting scammed by real estate agents. It's hard. I don't scam people, so it's hard for me to really say what the scam would be. Of course, I hear little rumors. I think the main scam, again, is not really a scam. It's people working with agents who are inexperienced or just generally bad at their jobs. I hate to say that, but every profession has people good at their jobs and bad at their jobs. And you can get under contract. I mean, now buyers and sellers, when they go to buy or sell, it's always been sellers. We have listing agreements. You have to sign something and say, hey, I'm going to work with this person. It is more important than ever that you do your due diligence on real estate agents before you hire them. That's why I make this channel. So those of you who are looking for someone, if you feel like, oh, this woman, she's made 100 videos on what's going on around the area, you can say, that's something I like. You know who I am ahead of time, because I know this is a fear, and I would have this fear too. I would also say that I tell a lot of my customers when we go under contract, I always say to them, let's front load the deal. I don't know if that's the correct terminology, but what I mean by that is do our due diligence, get everything done quickly, get it done. So by the time we get to closing and you're thinking about movers, it's really just those last things that you can't get done till closing. The same goes when you're looking to either buy or sell. You can front load the process by picking a good team to work with, by picking a good realtor, by picking a good lender. I can tell you, you will feel more scammed by lenders sometimes if you pick a bad one than by a real estate agent, in my opinion. Some lenders, I have great local lenders. I think they're so honest and great, but there are some national people out there, or companies out there that you'd be shocked. You would be shocked at the things I've seen. And a lot of that, I don't feel like it's a scam. They just don't care. They just don't seem to, oh, you need to close on this day. Well, maybe we'll get our paperwork done on that day, and maybe we won't. Again, I don't know if that's really a scam as much as it is incompetence. Now let's talk about real scams I've seen, heard of. None of these, again, have been in deals I'm dealing with, but I've been very close to them. The first one isn't even a real estate scam, but I'm going to tell you about it because this lives in my world forever. I had a customer who was downsizing from a home in Punta Gorda Isles, and I went to pick her up one day because she was looking at condos in another neighborhood. I picked her up. She was an older widow. Again, she gets in the car and she said, you know what happened to me today? And I said, no. She said, my grandson called me. He was in a Mexican prison, and in order to get him out, he needed $2,000 in Target gift cards. And I'm kind of laughing. I didn't luckily laugh out loud. I just kind of thought, oh, like there's going to be a punchline to this because this doesn't make any sense. And I was driving down Magdalena. If you're in Punta Gorda Isles, this is probably 8 years ago. It's a very curvy road. She said to me, so then I went to Target to get the gift cards. I thought I was going to drive off that road. What? You got the gift cards? She did not get the gift cards. She got to Target, and Target told her, absolutely not. This is a scam. Thank you, Target. I've told this story many times, and people go, oh, makes you want to shop at Target. And yes, I mean, we all shop at Target, but that's the bare minimum you can do. Really, Target is not be part of the scam. And then it was in the newspaper a couple days later that this was going on. But there are a lot of scams out there, and people fall for them. So, and she was a nice, smart lady, and she had just been widowed and was going through a lot, and they picked a mark. Luckily, she did not lose any money. That being said, let's talk about some real estate scams. The first one, and the one that scares me, is wire fraud. I have never had a customer personally part of wire fraud, but I have a good friend who is a good real estate agent who, previous to all of this, ran a big business before she came down here and started selling real estate. I trust her. She's an honest person, smart woman. She had a customer cheated out of $100,000 in wire fraud. What happened? The wire fraudsters, the criminals, this was many years ago. Nobody knew that this happened back then. They broke into her. I don't know if they broke into the title company. I don't know how they got. I don't have a criminal mind, so I can't tell you exactly how it happened. But somehow they got, knowing they were doing a deal, maybe they broke into the customer's email. I don't know. And they changed her email address by one letter. And then they started emailing the customer. And they started early. Apparently they talked about furniture. They talked about all kinds of stuff. She had no idea this was going on. And then they said, you need to wire $100,000 to this. You know, it was 2 days before closing. And the customer thought maybe it was a little weird, wired the money. It was gone. And she had no idea, the realtor had no idea any of this transpired until they got ready for closing. And the customer said, oh, I already gave you $100,000. That didn't happen. No realtor is ever going to ask you to wire money. And if they do, you should very much question that. There's no reason for me to ask you to wire money. I don't send those emails. It doesn't happen. Title companies ask you to wire money. And unfortunately, most title companies will only take wires these days. They won't do cashier's checks. Ask your title company, but it's rare. When you wire money, the best I can tell you is it's like crossing a busy road. You want to look both ways. You want to pay attention. When you're moving, there's a lot going on, but this is the thing you want to stop and say, nope, we're serious about this one. Other things might get away from us, but no. You want to call the title company that you're wiring money to and confirm, did you send me these instructions? Let me tell you, if somebody said to me, tomorrow I'm going to send you the instructions, and then the next day I got the instructions, I would still call them and confirm, you sent me these instructions, I want to confirm, and now I'm going to wire the money. Also tell them that you're going to wire the money, because then they'll look for it. My understanding is that if they catch this fraud quickly, you have a better chance of recouping the money. If you wait 2 days, it's rough. I can't tell you that is going to make it perfectly safe to wire money. I can tell you that is the advice most title companies give, that everybody pay attention. Criminals, the hard part about scams is most of us really don't have a criminal mind. Like my realtor friend, none of us ever, when she told this story, we all felt like we got hit in the face. We all felt like we got hit in the gut, like, oh, this is going to happen to any one of us. Who thinks of that is the problem. So you want to pay it. I don't want to scare you like you can't do it. You can still cross the street. You can get across the street, but you need to take a moment, pay attention to what you're doing, and look both ways. That's wire fraud. Number 2 is lot scams. This is another thing that comes up. What it is if you own a vacant piece of land in Charlotte, probably anywhere, but in Charlotte County, I get these calls all the time. Text messages. Hey, my name is so-and-so. I got a lot right here. I want you to list it. I want you to sell it. They're not the owner, because you can do everything over the internet now. They'll all the time I say to them, okay, for you to list a lot with me, I'm going to snail mail you this listing agreement. And then you have to sign, and they hang up on me. They say, no, I just want to email. Just e-sign. So much easier, e-sign. No. If I don't know you and you want to list a lot with me, you're going to get at least one piece of mail to the address at the tax assessor's office that you have to mail back to me. I've also, one time somebody called me and I hunted the owner down, and he was a dentist, I believe, and somehow I got his cell phone number. And I texted him, I said, this doesn't sound really weird. Do you own this lot? Are we discussing this? And he said, no, but thank you for this, because he owned a couple lots, and he's like, I hear about this all the time and I don't know what to do. I will tell you what to do. There is a property fraud alert that you can get when somebody sells your property, and when there's paperwork filed at the courthouse, they'll let you know. I will put the link to sign up for that down below. If you're a buyer, I highly recommend, when you buy vacant land, you use a local, well-known, recommended title company. That's not a 100% guarantee, but at least you will have a title company that knows about this, who is local. If you have a problem, they will be there to figure it out with you. Title in general, the idea of title is to show that you are buying the land and own it free and clear. Obviously, if you buy it from a fraudster, you're not going to own it free and clear. Then your title would kick in, but that causes a lot of other problems. Of course, a good local title company could make a mistake. The criminals could come up with something new. A lot of them these days do a lot of due diligence, check all kinds of passports, and I don't know all they do, but you really want somebody on your side who is looking out for this. If I were one of these fraudsters, I'd pick a small title company out of town that's hard to get a hold of, who aren't going to do as much double checking as maybe somebody local who does this all day, who does not want that on their reputation. Those are scams. I hope nothing ever happens to you. I hope this helps you. If you want to buy or sell real estate in Charlotte County, I would love to help. You can book an appointment with me on that Calendly link below. Feel free to do that. It can be phone, it can be Zoom, whatever's easiest for you. I will talk to you next week.